All right. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. My name is Joshua Fox. I'm a technical account manager here at Ingram Micro. And today we're going to be talking about Aruba Atmosphere 2019 and some of the updates that came out of that event. Now, for those of you that are not aware, Aruba Atmosphere is a event that is held annually every year. This year it was held in Las Vegas, Nevada. And there were quite a few updates, and we're just going to be going over those from mostly a product standpoint, as well as talking about some additional information there. So if we, here we go. Sorry, I had a little bit of trouble there. If we take a look at the agenda, the first thing that we're going to talk about is some of the new access points that were announced here at the event. We'll move into ClearPass Device Insight, which is going to be a brand new product. Then we're going to go ahead and talk about ClearPass Entry Level, a new licensing scheme available for ClearPass. We'll move into NetEdit, which has already been announced, but there were some cool features around NetEdit that came out, so I want to talk about some of those. We'll dive into a little bit of WPA3. We're not going to go too heavy into that, but we do want to talk about one specific feature of WPA3 that is going to be pretty interesting called DPP, and we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit more detail. And then lastly, we will go into a couple of new promotions and things going on to help you guys out when you're out there in the field making those sales. All right. So first thing we have up here are the new access points, the 530 and 550 series access points. These are going to be 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6 access points. Now, for those of you that are following 802.11ax and Wi-Fi 6, you will be aware that these are not available as client features yet, but those clients will be coming. So if you're looking to future-proof, the 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6 access points are going to be a really good option for you. So what are some of the cool new capabilities coming out of these? Well, we're going to have AX-aware client match, meaning if you have an AX client out there or a Wi-Fi 6 client out there, we can match them up appropriately to the access point that is supporting AX if you're in a mixed environment. We also have our AI-powered RF optimization, and we're going to keep going with the application visibility and control that we have in our access points today. So we're definitely not going to be losing any features. Now, these are all going to be IoT and location ready. Anybody following Aruba for a while probably knows that we have Bluetooth radios in our access points. Well, the newer access points coming out are now going to support Zigbee, which is an IoT protocol. They do have the capability to have additional Bluetooth protocols put in. So as IoT market expands and newer protocols come out for those IoT devices, we'll be able to, with a firmware update, go ahead and push that update out just to make IoT onboarding that much easier. We're also going to have smart power management. The access point will be able to operate in those low-powered modes even if you don't have enough PoE for it. And we can also aggregate two PoE ports with smart PoE. Now, this is probably going to be a little bit more important when the 550, and when we jump over to its specs, I'll show you why. We also have some enhanced security with WPA3 being supported in the new line of access points here. Pretty cool feature of enhanced open there, where you can actually encrypt open traffic, where in the past that was always unencrypted traffic. And we're also going to be supporting dynamic segmentation with these access points. We're also supporting live upgrades with these, the ability to roll out firmware without taking your access points down, and we also have seamless failover right in the access points. They also support a cool feature called Green AP if you're running NetInsight. Basically, the ability to do scheduling and turning low power modes on the access points to save yourself energy in times when you might not be expecting foot traffic. Think off hours and so on, where you can kind of power down those access points. So let's take a look at the 530 here. This is going to be a 4x4 access point, 4x4 on both the 5 and the 2.4 gigahertz there, with a max aggregate throughput of 3.5 gigs per second, up to 1,024 associated clients per radio. Now, recommended active clients right now is going to be about 150. That number is likely to jump up as AX client adoption goes up. One of the big features of 802.11ax, which I don't want to go into all the features of 802.11ax just simply because of time constraints as well as the technical nature of that concept. But OSDMA, as that comes into the client side and we're able to start taking advantage of the resource unit concept of 802.11ax, you're likely to see that recommended max active client limit go up quite a bit. So definitely keep that sizing information there for today's AC clients, but know that you're probably going to be able to support a lot more clients as they start to support the newer technology as well. So on the 530 series, we're going to have multi-gig support for these. That's going to be pretty good because they are supporting such a higher throughput. So they are going to support that multi-gig smart rate. The PoE requirement on these guys is 26.4 watts without the USB. So we still can power these with our 802.3 AT compliant switches. We don't have to go to BT with these unless we're using that USB port on it for something additional. Think you're adding an additional modem or maybe a sensor or something that's utilizing that port. Whatever it is, if you do utilize it, remember you're going to have to use a little bit more power. We do support BT on these just because of that USB port, and we also have dual 802.3 AT ports on them as well. So if you want to power it with 230 watt, you're definitely able to do that. You can also do the up to 60 watt if you're utilizing BT there. Now, with our 550 series access points, we're going pretty high in that antenna configuration, 8 by 8. Or you can do an optional tri-radio mode, which is pretty interesting because now you can have two 5 gigahertz radios on 4x4. You're going to have a low and high band of that, so you're not going to have any cross-channel interference even though you're using two 5 gigahertz radios in the same access points. Aruba's done some good work there to make sure that that's not going to happen for you. But that's pretty good news because we can support some pretty high and dense environments there using that dual 4x4 5 gig radios or even that single 8x8 5 gig radio. Max aggregate throughput on these is 5.59 gigabits per second, so pretty dang good, much more than even the 530 there. Definitely going to be supporting multi-gig on these. Definitely going to need that support with how high the throughput's going. Again, the associated clients per radio, 1,024, and recommended max per radio on this is still 150, but with 3 radios, you could still get a little bit higher. And just like with the 530 there, keep in mind that number's probably going to go up once 802.11ax clients start to hit the scene. Now, keep in mind that this guy really is going to take up a lot of power, 38 watts of power on these. So you will need to invest either in the smart switches that have the 802.3 BT, or you will have to utilize the two 803 AT ports to power this thing. If you do want to take advantage of the failover capability of those PoE ports, remember you're going to want to go BT because if one port fails and you're using AT, 30 watts isn't enough to fully power it, so you're still going to need that second port, whereas if you were using BT on both ports and one failed, since you're over the watts and you're able to power it with just one, you would be good to go. Now, with these 550, 530 access points, as well as the 510 that's already been announced, we're now in 802.11ax territory, and we've kind of entered into an area where you have that option of AC Wi-Fi 5 or AX Wi-Fi 6. Which one should you be going with? And for that, I would really recommend taking that on a situation-by-situation basis. If you're looking over here at the cost of these guys, the 530 probably sitting close to where the 340 is, and the 550 kind of becoming a new tier in client density. The 530s are about $100 more expensive than your 540. I'm looking at that right over here, $1,495. So you are looking at a little bit of a cost increase. It's not a huge one, but it is a little bit of a cost increase when you're going from AC to AX. So what I would say is if you're looking at a customer and the lead time for them to actually do, say, a refresh or actually purchase the access points is a little bit further out, these AX access points might be a little bit of a better way to go. As we keep getting closer and closer to those AX clients coming out, these are going to become more and more attractive. Think customers that want to future-proof and be ready for that explosion of the new device type. If they want to be able to support today's environment and they want the robust Aruba access points that are going to be able to do that, but they don't necessarily want to prepare for new AX, they want to wait for that Wave 2 of AX, which will release sometime after Wave 1, probably 2 or 3 years after Wave 1 of AX releases, then those AC Wave 2 access points are still a really good way to go. Remember, AX clients don't exist today, so those are still going to be the best way to go when it comes to doing a little bit cheaper, but still be able to support what's available today. So I would take that on a case-by-case basis. If they're willing to pay a little bit extra for the future-proof, all day sling these 550, 530, and 510 access points. But if they don't really want to pay for that extra future-proof, know that you can lean back on your 300 series 802.11 AC access points for at least a while. All right, so we're going to move past the access points here, and we're going to move into a new product announcement, Device Insight. Now, Device Insight is a cloud-based profiling service that is going to have full seamless integration with ClearPass Policy Manager. Now, those using a ClearPass Policy Manager may be familiar with the profiling services that you have with ClearPass. This is going to be like that profiling, but on steroids, because now we're going to be applying machine learning so that we can take devices that we don't know what they are today, learn what they are, and then apply that at a later date. We have a big problem today with lots of IoT devices that come up as generic Windows device when we go to profile it. And that can be okay, but sometimes you really need to know what that device is so you can properly segregate and secure it. So this is really what's going to do that for you. We're going to be utilizing artificial intelligence to say what a device is, and then be able to apply the correct policies to it using ClearPass. So how does that workflow really work? Well, a customer is going to label a device using clusters or rules. Is this a camera? Is this a phone? Is this a laptop? What is it? Aruba receives the signature from the end users. They test, they validate that signature, and then that signature is made available for use for everybody that might be using ClearPass Device Insight. So one person puts out an Axis camera or something of that nature. Usually this would show up as a Windows generic device. Now this camera shows up as that exact camera that it's supposed to. Aruba can receive that signature and pass it out. If anybody else is connecting that type of camera or so on, it's going to automatically show up as that make, model, and make it much easier for somebody to go ahead and secure that device. So what are we looking at from a deployment standpoint? There's going to be a hardware device insight collector. That actually can be hardware or VM. Part numbers for these haven't been released, so I'm not sure at the sizing of those, if you're going to be able to use your on-site ClearPass appliance to do the collection, or if you'd be able to use introspect device collectors for that collection. But just know today there's going to be some kind of device insight collector that goes on-prem, and then you're going to be paying for a subscription to be able to use the device insight analyzer, and that's just going to be ClearPass Device Insight, the cloud subscription, basically. And here's just a quick picture of what the grouping is going to look like. So as you can see, you're going to have this kind of GUI here, and it's going to show different devices like a phone, a camera, a specific Chestron media device, an Apple iPad, whatever it might be. They get clustered into these groups here. And then you're going to be able to apply policies based on these groups utilizing ClearPass. All right, so ClearPass also getting some changes. Now, before I get into ClearPass Entry, which is going to be our next subject, I just want to make a quick review of ClearPass 6.7 licensing. I want to do that just so you understand what we have today and what we're going to be looking at once entry level hits the market. So today you're looking at 4 components of ClearPass: a virtual hardware appliance that licenses would get applied to, an access license, which is sold for every single device that might be authenticating to the network, and we support a host of protocols here like MacAuth, web-based user registration, and so on. Also includes all of your guest features right inside of Access. Then you can do OnGuard, also a device license, one per device that might need that posture assessment, and then you do onboard from a user perspective. What we're going to be adding to this is ClearPass Entry. Now, Entry is going to be a little bit less of an expensive license than Access, drop some of the features of Access that people might not be using so that you can get into ClearPass at a little bit less of a cost point. What are you losing? You're using TACX. You're using the security exchange. So those of you that use ClearPass Exchange with a third-party firewall, maybe a property management system, or whatever you're using Exchange for, entry is not going to be for you. And you're also going to be using the profiling features of ClearPass. You do get to keep your guest features. You do get to keep your authentication features. So as you can see, for a lot of those companies or users out there that aren't doing something specific with TACX and they're not really mixing this with another type of device out there, they don't care too much about profiling, these entry-level licenses are going to be a really good way to go. So what does that look like from a feature standpoint? So now you can do entry level. You get the 802.x MAC-auth, web-based user registration authentication, multi-factor authentication, on-connect, and APIs. And then if you want to upgrade to Access later, you can do that. Get your TACX security exchange and the endpoint profiling. I will say it's about a little bit, I want to say 20% more expensive to do entry in the Access upgrade than it is just to go straight to Access. So definitely keep entry for those right-sized customers. Lead with Access. Go with Access first. But if they don't need those additional features and you need a little bit of a less expensive back route to go to just have them be able to secure their environment, know that entry level is there for you and they're not locking themselves out of Access later if they actually need it. So there are some quick restrictions I want to go over with you if you're going with ClearPass entry-level licenses. You can use onboard, but you completely cannot use OnGuard. OnGuard is going to be a big no if you're using ClearPass entry. So if you need that pre-posture health assessment, you're going to be wanting to look at Access directly. You're also not going to be able to use ClearPass Device Insight unless you've gone with the full Access type of ClearPass. So definitely, if you need that device insight, you like that profiling feature, definitely go straight to Access. And if you need that ability to do the posture assessment and the health checks, then you're going to want to go with those Access licenses as well. All right, so NetEdit. NetEdit wasn't specifically released here at Atmosphere 2019, but it is a pretty interesting product, and there were some cool updates that came out to it. So for those of you that aren't familiar with NetEdit, it's basically a program that you can use with your Aruba OS CX switches. Think your 8-type series switches, so 8400 and 8325 and so on. And you can basically put configurations inside of NetEdit, pull configurations down from NetEdit, and host all the configurations for all of your data center directly on NetEdit. NetEdit gives you the ability to compare and contrast different configurations, make sure that you don't have syntax errors, and lets you run change reports on different configurations you might have uploaded or not uploaded at that time. So it's a powerful way for you to automate and orchestrate your CLI configurations in the data center. A cool new feature that we've added, NetEdit 1.0 was released sometime in December, so we're still really in the early phases of this. One of the cool features we added was the ability to do this mobilely. So what you're seeing down here is a couple of screenshots we were able to get straight from the conference here. But we were able to get a mobile device where we can push and pull these NetEdit configurations. This is actually somebody's cell phone here where they're actually configuring an 8400 chassis core. And in this scenario, they were actually able to do the 8400 core upgrade live during the conference without any downtime. So it was a pretty cool tool that they were able to use to get a configuration out, do an upgrade, as well as make sure that the configurations that they were doing were good configurations. We didn't have any specific errors, and we were able to check the change reports and make sure that our configurations took the way that we were supposed to, all live without any interruptions to our core. All right, so lastly here, we're going to talk a little bit about WPA3. So one of the big upgrades you're going to see is this open, which is pretty powerful because in a lot of WPA2 environments, we have open networks that are sending unencrypted traffic a lot of times for guests. So this is a real good protection for those guests. We have this PSK mode is being replaced by SAE. This is basically giving us the ability to have a specific pre-shared key that changes as a device is walking around, and it will get its own specific pre-shared key instead of having a shared pre-shared key for everybody. So again, we're really trying to secure those devices a little bit better. We're also getting the Suite B, C, and SA grade ciphers. I won't go too far into that. And we're also getting a lot of enhancements into certification testing. Now that's a quick view, but one of the things I really wanted to go over was this DPP, or Device Provisioning Protocol. Working with Zebra, we've actually got the ability to scan devices to provision them. So you'll have a QR code on something like the back of an access point where you could go, walk up, scan it with, say, your phone or something of that nature, and then automatically have it provision when you plug it in. Now, this is pretty powerful for access points, but what it's really powerful for is going to be your IoT devices, because now you can scan everything, your printer, your thermostat, whatever it might be that you're putting down. Get that information directly when you're installing it, and so we're thinking that's going to be pretty powerful. Now, this is something, again, that we're working in here with Zebra, and we're hoping that as we're working with them, we're trying to get the DPP, or Device Provisioning Protocol, written into the WPA3 standard when it's completely ratified. And if we can do that, there's a lot of optimism around onboarding and securing those IoT devices. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to one of my colleagues here, Danielle Williams, and she's going to talk about the experience, the power of her.
Thanks, Josh. Hi, guys. This is Danielle Williams. I am one of the market development reps on the line. I cover the East Coast. So something new that they released at Atmosphere this year was Experience the Power of Her. So Kirti, who is the Chief Aruban for Aruba, kind of spearheaded this with the chief marketer, Janice Lee. And they didn't quite say what this will all involve, but essentially it's just a movement to drive and empower minority groups in today's workforce. So they did a workshop where they kind of went over how you can empower diversity within your workspace. I'm assuming there's going to be trainings and workshops coming out in the near future, but it was definitely something very exciting. And Janice Lee actually shared her story at the event, and if you have any time, definitely look her up, because she has a very interesting past. And so I think it's exciting that they are focusing on this, and I think there will be a lot to come. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to our other market development rep, Mike Herb.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to talk to you briefly about the Aruba Go exclusive partner offer, and this is going to run through the month of April. It's going to expire on April 30th, 2019. This is exclusive to all Aruba Go partners, and you have a chance to earn a $500 credit memo and an Aruba Go summer kit. And part of that summer kit is going to be the JBL portable speaker that you see on the slide there. Now, what do you need to do to be a part of this? Basically, the first 75 Aruba Go partner members that opt into the promo and sell $2,500 in Aruba for the month of April will earn the $500 credit memo. And you're also going to be eligible to win the Aruba Go summer kits. So these supplies are limited, so we encourage people to sign up for this right away. Now, how would you opt into this particular promotion? Just log into your Aruba Go account, scroll down to Contacts, and select your region, East, Central, or West. Type I want to opt in, and be sure to include the company mailing address for the summer kits, and then just click Go, and that's it. The contacts, I am West and Central, and as mentioned before by Danielle, she is in the East, so we are eagerly looking forward to more people to sign up. There's a lot of room left, and like I said, the sales are for the entire month of April, so even if you sign up today and you've made purchases earlier in the month, then it's going to count towards your $2,500 number. It's a great promo, and we encourage you all to join and get the credit memo and also the summer kit. At this point, I will turn it back over to Josh, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Mike. You guys, as always, did a wonderful job there telling us about some of our promos and programs. All right. With that, I'll go ahead and open this up to any questions. Do we have any questions here from the audience today? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording here. Thank you, everybody, for joining in today's webinar. I'm going to give you back some of your time here. That really does cover all of our